Welcome in to the RotoWire Soccer Show. I'm Adam Zdroik, joined by Ian Faletti. We're talking the knockout rounds, the round of 16 and beyond for Euro 2024. Ian, what's going on? We got a nice little break here after group stages. It seems like, 1, 2, 3, all these group stage games, and then we get a little break here before knockout rounds. So now we get 2 days to actually study these matchups and going further. And that's kind of what we're talking about today. Ian, first off, how are you doing?
Well,
Is this break welcome to you? This 2-day break here as we get going.
yeah, it's been insane. The Euros kind of flew by. The group stage really went faster than I expected. So I'm happy for it.
Yeah, it's already June 27th. It feels like we just had the Champions League final,
Yep.
and then Germany played Scotland in that opener, and that was, I guess, 2 weeks ago now.
Yep.
But now we're here. Again, if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, rotowire.com/soccer trial. We're gonna look at our cheat sheet, go over some of the initial odds here. I messed around with all our cheat sheets, and we have all 8 games here. So just as an example for what our cheat sheet provides, we got the expected lineups here. We're going to be kind of going over, talking about each of these round of 16 matchups, and then talking about the likelihood of England to win it all, among others. Then we also got the odds report, goal scoring odds on this one. Morata has the best odds to score of the 16 team series, minus 165 to score against Georgia. Ronaldo slightly below him, minus 135 against Slovenia. Free kick tracker is also in this, but we also have a separate free kick article as well. And then player stats, team stats, all that good stuff is also in these cheat sheets. So I put all these games in here just to help the people out a little bit. But first up here, just looking at this odds report. 4 of these teams have clean sheet chances above 50%. Seems kind of high here, but at the end of the day, what is the mentality going into these games for these teams? Because in the knockout rounds, we already get some teams in these third matches where they play a little safer than you'd expect. We got a couple 0-0. We got a couple scoreless draws the final couple days there. Do you think that's going to continue to where these teams are still playing it a little safe? That's kind of why we have some of these higher clean sheet percentages. Or do you think maybe some of these underdogs like Georgia are going to kind of go off the wall a little bit and try and score 3 goals against a team that's notably better than them? What do you think how these games are going to go? Obviously, every game is going to be different, but what do you think the general way these games are going to be played? A little safer, or maybe some of these teams are going for it?
I mean, I think that the underdogs are all. I think especially those 4 biggest underdogs are all going to be aiming for the classic 0-0 win on penalties. I mean, if Georgia goes out and tries to score 3 goals against Spain, then Spain's going to put 7 past them. It's going to be brutal. I think that especially Slovakia and Romania will be looking at it and thinking that they're in a position where they're massive underdogs, but they can still. The teams they're playing against are not going to be pushing for huge wins, so they will think they have a chance if they get 1 goal to hold a 1-1 and try to go to penalties. I mean,
Yeah, I think just looking at
especially
the odds, yeah, I'd agree with that. Just in terms of Slovakia and Romania, I'd argue that playing England and Netherlands is probably easier, I'll say, than playing Spain and Portugal. Would you say
yeah.
that Slovakia and Romania have the easiest chance to upset of these big 4 favorites here? Would you think those 2 teams have the easiest chance to actually upset their opponent here?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, Portugal and Spain. Portugal didn't look great against Georgia, but Portugal and Spain look better than England and Netherlands have so far.
Would you say that's just because both teams are heavy possession based teams, or where they can, dominate 60-65% possession, where we've seen England struggle to pass the ball to each other, struggle to possess the ball? Netherlands still with some defensive issues. They allowed 3 against Austria in their last game. Still have some questions overall, but Netherlands, it was a weird group where you get Austria and you get France in there. and then that opening win. So it was a weird group in terms of that. But what about these next 4 games? Germany, a middle favorite, I guess, against Denmark. Austria going against Turkey. France, Belgium, Italy, Switzerland. Do you think this France-Belgium game will be? I don't know. I guess Germany's the home team, but France, Belgium, is that the one our people are going to point to as saying this is going to be the most competitive match, most equal match between teams?
I think it'll be either that one or Austria Turkey, personally. Uh, France Belgium, I think, is quite equal on paper, but I think both teams have underperformed for different reasons, and Belgium might not have the legs to run with France.
You don't believe in Kevin De Bruyne's legs?
No, no, I don't. Not
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, Doku on the wing, maybe their, I don't know if I want to say freshest player, but he didn't play. I mean, he didn't really start that much for Manchester City this past season. They have these guys who have been there, part of the golden generation. Then they have some younger guys thrown in. Not sure it's worked completely, but Tielemans came back from his injury and got a couple starts, and that kind of gave them a boost. But again, they didn't look amazing against Ukraine, and that's exactly what put them in this position to play France here. But all right, let's pull up the actual bracket here. So instead of looking at the odds, so it's a little easier to look at just in terms of what we're talking about. So let's just go kind of left side of the bracket to the right side of the bracket. So we'll start with let's just start with this Germany match, talking about it. If you're watching, I put all the odds on this ticker on the bottom if you want to check those out. But so Germany, they are the home team going against Denmark. I'll read off the odds for all these. Germany are minus 165 to win. Denmark are plus 500 to win. I know you got Germany going all the way. I'll just get it out.
Yeah, I
Get it out of
do.
the way here. So, how do you think this matchup is going to go for the home side? Who, that last group match, they got that late goal against Switzerland. Maybe they took their foot off the pedal a little bit, but maybe it was kind of a matchup thing. Do you think Denmark and Christian Eriksen can give any fight here to the Germans?
I actually do. This, I think, is a very tough match for the Germans. Denmark has kept every game close. Obviously, 3 draws, so that's sort of obvious, but they've limited their goals against. They've limited expected goals against. They just are a very compact team. The new 3-4-1-2, 3-4-3, whatever it is on the day, whatever it is on who's starting, has been really, really solid and going to cause a ton of issues for Wirtz, Musiala, and Gundogan. I think
Yeah,
it's a brutal matchup.
I feel like the odds. It's just with these group stage games because we had, again, I mentioned that the Netherlands, France, and Austria in the same group, and then you're comparing it with Denmark, England, Slovenia, Serbia in the same group. You just have these weird combinations of matchups where Denmark only allowed 2 goals, but there in all those matches played, there's only 7 goals scored between those 4 teams. So is it Denmark's defense, or is it because they played England, Slovenia, and Serbia? It could be any of those things. It's just the difference between these groups. I came in the tournament. I wasn't thinking like, okay, I usually with Vestergaard back there, I didn't really have too much faith in Denmark in terms of their defensive capabilities. Though they won't have Holzman here, projecting Thomas Delaney to start, but that could be Nordgaard, that could be maybe not Jensen, but they could have put a few guys in the midfield there because Holman is suspended, so that'll have to change something up in their midfield, which that's not the best thing to do. Holman starts all 3 matches, and then he's going in a midfield against Tony Kroos and company, so that's not the easiest thing for Denmark, but yeah, I think. So do you think this will be lower scoring or higher scoring? I guess.
I think it'll be lower scoring. I think that Denmark are going to be playing for something low scoring. If Denmark gets an early goal, then Germany will get a ton of volume, but I don't think this has a ton of goals in it. I don't think either team. I don't think Denmark will let there be a ton of goals in this match unless Germany scores early, and then it just gets crazy. But
Yeah, I guess it's going back to what we said at the start. It's like, are these games going to be lower scoring? If this was like a random friendly in June or whatever, I feel like this would be a game with goals. Germany,
yeah,
tend to play in games where both teams score a little more back and forth. But now we get in the first round of knockouts, and maybe so maybe my initial thought was, okay, this will be maybe Denmark can steal one early, and then force Germany to attack a little more than they planned on, kind of a thing. But even with the way they play, there's still plenty of attacking going on in German matches. So they get the winner of this one. Whoever advances gets Spain against Georgia. Georgia are plus 1,300 to win this one. So not many are expecting it. They just beat Portugal, but can they? Is there a chance here? I said it a couple times for Georgia. I think they're probably, maybe if not the worst team at Euros, bottom three worst, and then they go out and beat Portugal. So how much should we put into that match against Portugal? Does that give you any faith into Georgia and actually having a chance against Spain, or is that just like a weird game? Portugal rotated. They knew they didn't have to win. So how do you think Georgia, in I guess all their games, they've shown the ability. They play open, they play quick, they want to press, and there's been goals in their games. Do you think they can actually do that against Spain?
I think they can try. I don't think it'll go well. I mean, if they play a high line versus Spain, this young Spain team will just absolutely take them to the races. But I think that Portugal game, it's a great result for Georgia, but there's nothing you can take away from it. I mean, you listed all the reasons. Portugal already were through. Portugal were already topping the group. They rotated pretty much their entire 11. It was what, 8 players got rotated there, or 9? Like, as
Something
great
like
as the
that, yeah.
result is, it's not. I don't think it's indicative of anything for Georgia, and I think that they got absolutely washed by Turkey to open the group. The game with Czechia wasn't exactly thrilling, and Czechia had, it was, 3 times the expected goals that game. So even though it was a 1-1 draw, I mean,
They had
Georgia
like
was not going to
27
outshine them.
shots to 5 shots or something like that.
Yeah, 27 shots to 5. Georgia's a great story, but yeah, I agree with you. They're probably a bottom 3 team at the Euros, and I don't see them getting past Spain, barring, I don't know, Danny Vivian getting sent off in the first 5 minutes or something, and even then it might go to penalties. Like,
Unfortunately, he's probably gonna be on the
oh,
bench.
right,
So
yeah,
yeah, he was one of the guys that got rotated in for
true.
Spain's third match. It'll probably be Lenormand started the first two. It'd probably be Laporte. He was injured early on. Then he started over Nacho, I think, in the final two.
Yeah, they've switched their center backs a few times because Laporte sat he was injured, yeah, and then yeah,
Yeah, it was Nacho and Lenormand in that first one, and then he
yeah.
came on. Laporte came on. So what's the best way to bet this one? Spain minus 500. I'm not going to take that by itself. Like, do we think Spain's going to get more than 2 goals? Do we think they're going to rack up corners because Georgia's just sitting back a little more? Or do you just want to take, okay, let's say I said Alvaro Morata. He was minus 165. If you take that by himself, obviously depends on the sports books. I just pulled up a single game parlay where you can put together Spain money line and Murata, put those together, and it's actually plus 105. So obviously much better odds than the minus 500. Just throw in Murata and Spain to win, and you're already at plus odds. Does anything stand out to you? Do you think Spain are going to crack like 3 goals kind of thing?
I don't think Spain will crack 3 goals because I think that Spain will be happy to sit back. I think Spain will go up 1 or 2 early, and then they'll be happy to just not risk anything. I think similar to how they played against Italy, where once they got the lead, and then Albania as well. Albania, they got the lead even earlier, and they're just willing to control the match, hold on to the ball, but they're not going to keep pressing.
Yeah, that was probably the main thing with Spain going into the tournament was This is a team where no one's actually sold on their attacking talent. Murata, it seems like, that's a tweet that's been going around. It's like, oh, Murata could be 39 years old, or he could be 22 years old. He could play for Juventus, or he could play for Atletico Madrid, or whoever. It's just like the same Murata as he's always been. But he's coming off one of his better seasons at Atletico Madrid. So that's what I'll say. Spain was my pick going in, and that was kind of one of my reasons. But you can't ignore it. Both Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams have both looked really strong on the wings. You could say almost the opposite of what's going on in England. England have the issue where neither Foden, or maybe it's not Saka to an extent, where both Nico Williams and Yamal can, use their speed, go on the wings, run past pretty much most defenders. That's not really the game for Foden, not too much for Saka either. So it's almost like maybe throw Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal on England and everything will be solved, but maybe not.
Oh no.
Yeah, throw a 16-year-old on this stacked England side and everything will be solved. I think, is that how it works?
Throw De La Fuente on the England side and everything will be solved. But
yeah, I'm sure that's the answer too. Next game we got, so this is a stacked side of the bracket, which kind of is what everyone's talking about as we'll get into England. As they're on the other side of the bracket, but Portugal, Slovenia are the next one up. Portugal fresh off that loss to Georgia. They're taking on Slovenia, who, looking at this, they don't have their regular left back, Eric Janza, is suspended with a couple yellow cards. I believe he split set pieces for them as well. It's been really a team that's kind of kept their same group together. Sesko had, I forget what it was, thigh or groin, something going into that last game. Wasn't 100% healthy, but I think they've started pretty much the same group in all three matches. Now they got to use possibly this. I'm not too familiar with Belkovic here, but they're going to have to use another left back instead of Eric Janza. So that's not a great thing to have when Bernardo Silva is on your side, Rafael Leao on the other side, throwing a new fullback in there. And looking at the odds again, as expected, Portugal are minus 255 to win. Slovenia plus 750 to win. Portugal, you think this is a rebound spot for them?
Yeah, I think Portugal have way too much. I think that original match against Georgia, as cool as it is for Georgia, it was such a rotated side. They knew that they didn't need the win. So I think there's not much to take away from that. Portugal have still looked good. That lineup is still loaded top to bottom. So I'm still in on Portugal.
I'd say the one thing in Slovenia's favor, if you can call this in favor, as they finished with 3 points. Were they the last third place team to get in, actually? Yeah, they were 3 points. Yep. The other three had 4 points. If you just look at other games, they weren't completely dominated by anyone. If that's a selling point, but again, England didn't dominate anyone. So, okay, there's that. Their first match, Denmark, Denmark was the better team in the first half. Then Slovenia kind of poured it on in the second half. They got that equalizer. And then the next game, Serbia got a late equalizer from Jovic. Is one of those goals that happened. It's probably been 5 goals that have been scored in stoppage time in this tournament. And that game was Slovenia maybe the better team. Though it's not like either team really dominated that one. So I guess if going into this one, if you wanted a reason, it's like, okay, Ronaldo, Portugal have been okay. They came out and they got that big win in their first game. I guess maybe it wasn't big, but they dominated possession. It was like, I don't know, it wasn't 80%, but it was close to 80% against Czech Republic. Czech Republic got that first goal, and then they got those 2 late. Dominated Turkey with the help of an easy own goal, and then that final Georgia game. So it's not like Georgia have looked. Again, this is like a 3-game sample size at the end of the day. But I think there are reasons to come in here and say, well, what if Slovenia keep Portugal out? Like Czech Republic Czechia kept out Portugal in that first game. What if that happens? Because, I think they could have the defense. They could have the the strength there to maybe, get this to be a scoreless game going in 70th minute. Maybe they get a late one, or maybe they get it to PK, something like that. But plus 340 on Slovenia. I've seen crazier things.
There's definitely potential there for Slovenia. I think the issue, and one of the reasons I'm so high on Portugal in general, is that they have so much talent on the bench as well. They've been causing issues for teams throughout the group stage in the second half. When other teams start to bring on subs, their subs are a huge drop in quality. When Portugal brings on subs, they're bringing on guys that are starting in the Champions League every week, and it's been noticeable to me, at least, that they look better late in the second half. I mean, they've been scoring late. And I just said Czechia, for instance.
Unfortunately, all those bench guys weren't good enough to beat Georgia.
That's true. That's true. Actually, was there no Diogo Jota? It doesn't count.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
only counts
the
if he starts.
that's the key piece right there. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, if you're bringing in like Pedro Neto to bomb down the left wing, and Conceição on the other wing, and you still have João Felix, and then, as you said, Diogo Jota, guys like that, obviously it is something that most of these teams don't have. The majority of these teams don't have, specifically Slovenia, who, again, they really haven't rotated too much. The other game on this side of the bracket is one we mentioned earlier. We got France going against Belgium. An interesting matchup. I think it could be. I don't know. There's a chance this isn't fun, and it's just like these teams kind of play it a little safer. France haven't been in the same mold of like Spain or Portugal, where they're controlling possession and they look amazing. Of course, Mbappe had his broken nose. Griezmann was dropped, came off the bench in that third game. Tchouaméni came back from his injury, started. I think he went close to a full 90 in both those games. And then you got Belgium. Belgium had a good chance to win their group, and they just couldn't score against Ukraine. They had moments, but still just looked like a team that isn't that great. So looking at the odds for that one, France minus 110 to win, Belgium plus 370 to win. So a little closer in terms of the odds. France are still one of the favorites to win it all. Is this just a game where, maybe France don't look great, but they maybe Mbappe gets a goal and they shut it down. They get the 1-0 win, or it's 2-1, something like that. Not overly impressive, but they take down Belgium either way.
I think that there's a very good chance France does pretty much exactly what you said. That's what I was going to say. Something from Mbappe, moment of magic. I will say that as much as I'm not a believer in Belgium here, the talent they have, the names they have, there's more than enough talent there for them to also produce that single moment of magic. They have the puncher's chance to knock down France. I mean, De Bruyne, Doku, Lukaku, like they can find a goal. So as poor as both teams have looked at times, I think that this game could be, as you said earlier, probably the best of the first round, best of the round of 16.
Yeah, I think Doku and De Bruyne have probably been their best players. Luka Bacchio was suspended that last one. So Luka Bacchio, Bakayoko, Trossard, and then, of course, you're throwing Lukaku in there. Just guys who haven't done enough from what Belgium have needed. I guess you could say De Bruyne is kind of trying to do what he can. There's numerous opportunities against Ukraine where he was giving final balls to players and no one was finishing. Doku is kind of being himself a little bit more on that wing there. But then you look at it and you throw in, okay, you got Tchouaméni, you got Kanté kind of running all over the place in the midfield. That's going to be a problem for De Bruyne a little bit. And then Doku going against Koundé on that side as well, one of the better, arguably, right backs in the world. So I think it's just kind of a bad matchup overall for Belgium, unless Lukaku can score. I guess that's
Can
kind of
stay
what
on side.
Yeah, can stay on side. I think his first chance against Ukraine, he had the ball about the 6-yard box, and it resulted in like a left-footed tap to the goalkeeper or whatever that was.
Yeah.
So it's going to come down to, I think it's going to come down to players other than Doku and De Bruyne for Belgium. And at the end of the day, I mean, we've seen France so many times in these tournaments and knockout stages. It's like, okay, they're just doing enough to advance. And I think that's kind of what we'll get here.
Yeah. Yeah, they weren't inspiring. France in the group stage were probably the team that disappointed me the most compared to expectations with the attacking talent they have. I mean, the scoreless draw with the Netherlands, yeah, they were the better team, but they really seemed to struggle against Poland as well. Again, they were the better team. They had the more possession, they had more XG, but they've really struggled for any sort of end product, and that worries me. Really worries me for France because if they're struggling to score, they always they leave themselves open to getting upset, and this team really should be expecting to make the final here. Like,
Yeah, I pulled up. I mentioned a little bit just France's performances in tournaments. So I pulled up World Cup 2022. They had the opener against Australia, which was one of the first games. I put 4 goals on them, and that was like, okay, France, they're for real. And then the next game, it was pretty even. Mbappe got a brace, got a late winner in the 86th minute, but it was even against Denmark. And then they lost their match against Tunisia, 1-0. I'm not entirely sure. They probably rotated since they were guaranteed to advance. But I mean, you look at the knockout stages. They played Poland. They had the game against England, which was, again, pretty even match. And then they got Morocco in the semifinal. And then they had that wild game against Argentina. So it's been so many times where, I guess that's how these international tournaments go, especially in the knockout rounds. It's, you don't really have to be dominant. You just have to win your matches. So talking about the left side of the bracket a little bit while we're on that France side. So let's say, the two favorites win here, France, Portugal. Would you rather take Portugal or France to advance to the semifinal?
I'd take Portugal, honestly. Off what I've seen so far, I think Portugal will get out of the bottom half of the bracket.
You're on Portugal there. So how do you think of that matchup then? Portugal, France.
I think it's probably pretty similar to Belgium. In Belgium, France, in a lot of ways, it's two extremely talented teams, but I think that Portugal is in better form, and I think Portugal has done better with their A team. Belgium has struggled even with their very best. Portugal, with their best, has been scoring. They've been finishing their chances, and I think in the knockout stage, the amount of chances some teams are wasting, mostly France and England, can come back to bite you a lot harder than the group stage. The margin for error is much slimmer.
Yeah. And one thing I'd say about Portugal would be they're probably going to have a problem with Mbappe. I mean, obviously everyone does,
Everyone
but
does, yeah.
you look at the Portugal fullbacks, Pepe, 40-year-old starting on the back line. Is Ruben Diaz going to be able to prevent Mbappe from dominating kind of thing? I mean, Cancelo is probably going to start, and he's an iffy defender as it is. Thiago Dalot, Nuno Mendes, whoever starts. But seems like that could be that is one of their weaknesses. Otherwise, they wouldn't be starting Pepe back there, basically.
Yeah.
But look at the odds for that. France minus 125 to reach the semifinal. Portugal are plus 140. So a little bit more value there. But again, these odds aren't amazing. That's not a massive difference when France will probably be if that matchup happens, I'll say France are probably like plus 120 to win, Portugal plus 190, something like that. France will probably be a slight favorite. What if we get Spain and Germany on the top of here? Are you still going Germany against who you said has been the best team so far through group stages?
I am. I actually think Germany match up better with Spain than a lot of other teams. Germany have fullbacks that can cope with Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams. I think there's very few teams that can say that. I've been very impressed by Kimmich and Mittelstadt, so I actually do have Germany over Spain there. Yeah.
You don't think that Kimmich's going to be what game was this where Kimmich, it was the Champions League semifinals. Kimmich basically got roasted by Vinicius. You don't think Nico Williams can do something similar there on that left side?
I don't think Nico Williams is on the same level as Vinicius.
I don't know. Brazil, they're held scoreless in their first Copa America match.
That's true.
So So Spain, Germany, Portugal, France to reach the final. I'll read some of these odds out here. Spain plus 240 to reach the final. Germany plus 250. France plus 275. And then Portugal plus 400. This is just to reach the final from if you're watching on the screen, the left side of the bracket here. So you think home field advantage is it for Germany, or maybe Portugal upset if that's what you're thinking here in the semifinal?
I think Germany. I think the home field advantage will play a huge role, and I think that Germany's in a great spot where this team had a lot of their growing pains at the World Cup 2022, and their young players are now all on the same page and playing in front of their home fans. I think Germany will make the final.
Yeah, I really think any of these four teams could. I don't think Belgium could. I don't think Slovenia could. Denmark could. Denmark could. I don't think it's going to happen, but of the four underdogs here, Georgia, no, I don't think they could. All the four underdogs, Denmark has the shot. But again, if it's okay, they get past Germany, they make something happen. Ericsson makes something happen. But can they do that against Spain? And then can they do that against Portugal and France? Probably not. That's a lot to ask from these three underdogs going against these massive sides here on the way to the final. So I really think it's probably going to be between those four teams. I'm sticking with Spain. That's who I had before the tournament, and I think they played Rodri in the middle, running things, and Fabian Ruiz has been really good as well. And if they can get the goals, if Nico Williams and Lamine Yamal can continue to be nuisances on the wing, and Murata can stay healthy and be an option up front, I think they can. I think that's enough. And then you mentioned Portugal bringing guys off the bench. Spain can bring plenty of guys off the bench as well. So, granted, probably all four of these teams. You could say that about all four of these teams, really.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, Fulkrug, maybe they're Germany's best goal scorer at the end of the day. So,
yeah, I think the Spain team is incredibly talented. I just worry about in the knockout stage, especially against the home favorite. Obviously, they're all players that played on the biggest stage. Half of them have played Champions League finals. I just worry about how they will work as a unit, as a young unit, especially. Lamine Yamal, Pedri on the right side together are both very, very talented, but I don't think this is the year for Spain. We'll see.
Yeah, I do think that was the consensus coming into the tournament, but I think that's what happened to them at the World Cup. They lost. They controlled the match against Morocco. This was a first round of knockouts. They lost Morocco. It was 0-0. They couldn't get the goal. But I mean, I just pulled up that lineup, and you just compared lineups like Sergio Busquets started that game. Inter Miami, Sergio Busquets. Ferran Torres, who's now on the bench. Marco Asensio started as their striker in that one. Danny Olmo, okay, he played in that one. Pedri was getting minutes there. Jordi Alba started that game. For some reason, I can't remember this. They must have had some injuries, but Rodri played center back in that game.
Yep.
So you have all those. Marcos Llorente at right back. I just think they figured it out a little more in qualifiers, and you could tell in group stages that I don't think it's the same team from the World Cup. I do think those wingers give them something a little more, and just a couple more years on their legs. I think that maybe, but we'll see. Obviously, we got to get to this other side here. So let's start with Romania, Netherlands. Romania plus 700 to win. Netherlands minus 230 to win. It seems like, a lot of these teams are talking about Netherlands didn't really impress too much. Lost that last game against Austria, but going against Romania now, what do we think? Do they have someone suspended? Let me double check. I thought they did maybe. Okay, they have another team with their left back suspended. Bonchu is suspended for this one. So on the same side as possibly Malen there for Netherlands. Unclear who's going to start left back. I put in this Mogos guy. Not too familiar with him. But again, another situation where this big underdog has a new fullback starting against a team with pretty, pacey, solid wingers. Do you think is that going to be have an effect here for Romania, who not many people knew much about them going in, and I'm not sure many people know too much about them still.
Yeah, I think that Romania are very fortunate with the format of the tournament this time around. They obviously ended up qualifying top of the group, but that group ended up being one where the final match day, every team pretty much knew that a draw was in their best favor, except Ukraine, I
Ukraine.
believe,
Mm-hmm.
and Belgium were just the better team there. I don't think Romania did anything that was super impressive. The first match against Ukraine was definitely good, but this was an injured Ukraine team that really underperformed. And then after that, Romania have been, I guess, pretty much what we all expected from Romania. They were played off the park by Belgium, and the Slovakia game, they didn't get much of the ball. They had some better chances, but it was 1-1, and their only goal was a penalty. So I'm
Yeah,
not high
just
on Romania at all.
yeah. I think I said this. Was it Slovenia? I said this about. Netherlands are just a team where they're not going to dominate possession. They have some struggles of their own. Veerman has started 2 matches. I think he's gone 45 in each of those games. They're still trying to figure some things out because they came in the tournament, Frankie de Jong and someone else picked up an injury right before the tournament. So they got a couple guys who would have been starting that are injured. So you have that in there. They still got, people talk about Alvaro Morata, Spain's forward, Memphis Depay. Okay. Xavi Simons, Gakpo's had a good tournament. Malin, I think he's going to start again. He looked pretty good against Austria, I'd say. So again, that was a spot where Frimpong actually started a couple games ago. So, it's a situation where can Romania actually get a spot where it's scoreless or they get the first goal and they're forcing Netherlands and they're sitting back, forcing Netherlands to do something. It's kind of what happened against Ukraine in Romania's first game. They got the first goal and then they kind of piled it on and they did enough to prevent Ukraine from scoring. I'm not saying Romania is going to win, but it just feels like one of those matchups where if an upset was possible, I think this would be a spot. I don't think
Yep.
Romania are great, but I think it's in range that it could happen. I'm not entirely trustful of this Netherlands team.
I'm not either. And the Netherlands team, I think they lack some confidence in themselves. I think they're unsure what their best starting 11 is. And when you're heading into the knockout stage of the Euros, you really need to know what your 11 is. And I don't think they do. They've changed it nearly every match, as you mentioned. They've had, the Dumfries and Frimpong combination on the right side. Then they had Geertruida in the last match, started it right back with Malin ahead of him. They've had Gakpo starting in the center, Depay starting in the center, Veerman starting, and then Simon start. It's just they don't know what they want to do, and I think that you're right. That could this Netherlands team has not been impressive enough to just write off Romania entirely. So I could definitely see it. I could see Romania keeping it scoreless and then winning on penalties or winning late in extra time.
Yeah. Yeah, would agree with that. And the other game, we have Austria and Turkey. I think, personally, I think this is a game that could have the most goals of these 8 as I
I
scroll
agree.
through these. Let's see what the odds suggest. That is basically what the odds suggest as well. 2.73 implied goal total for that match. The Spain-Georgia one's 2.88 because Spain implied total is 2.27. But this Austria team, I don't think Austrians believe in their back line either, but I don't believe entirely in their back line. They seem to allow a goal in most matches, but also they've been great in the attack. They don't have an Mbappe. They don't have a great striker per se, but how many teams have a great striker? They're starting Arnautovic, but they're getting enough out of Sabitzer. They're getting enough out of Baumgartner and everyone else in there. And they've really just made it work. Turkey, you throw in what just happened, the yellow card, red card fest. They have 3 players suspended, namely Çalhanoğlu suspended. So they're obviously going to need a new creator type in the midfield, which is always a problem. Though Arda Gush. I forget what I saw the pronunciation. I forgot how to pronounce his name correctly. But for this one, Austria minus 115 to win, Turkey plus 350 to win. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
I'm massively on Austria, actually. I think Austria looked great in the group stage. They weren't perfect defensively, as you mentioned, but the only goal France scored against them was an own goal. They were better than Poland throughout. Uh, their match against the Netherlands turned into a bit of a mess, but I was impressed by how they held up. And this is a Turkish team without Chanoglu and Akaden, who's the first choice center back. So
Mm-hmm.
you down two crucial pieces in holding midfield and center back against a talented Austrian midfield. I really, really like Austria here. And I do think there will be a ton of goals in this match. I think neither of these teams are defending very well.
Yeah, Turkey just seems like one of those teams where we just talked about it with Romania. Just they kind of benefited just in terms of some of what happened here. So they got that first win against Georgia. Okay, they beat Georgia. Great. Then they were destroyed by. Didn't play great against Portugal. Okay, and then they had that Czechia match where they're up a man for 70 minutes, and
Yep.
there are chances where they actually could have lost that match, but they were up a man for about 70 minutes in that one. I think Turkey was a sleeper. It was a dark horse for a lot of people coming in. I'm not sure I'm sold on that yet. I just threw something together, a little single game parlay where you can do Austria money line, both teams to score. If you want to do like over 2.5 goals in there too, you can get to. I guess that would be over 3.5 goals, but you're around plus 300. If you do over 3.5 goals, it's plus 525. You're thinking, okay, Austria get 3 goals, 3-1 type of game. It's kind of how I feel in this one. Think this one should be pretty exciting here. This is July 2nd, so this would actually be the last of the round of 16 matches. The next game we got on this side, England against Slovakia. England. This is what everyone wants to talk about here. So we could get Foden back. I haven't seen the latest update today. So this game is Saturday, correct? Or is it Sunday? Sunday. This game is Sunday. So
Yep.
we could get Foden back. He had his third kid. Was that Tuesday? It happened.
Yep.
Southgate
And
really
Shaw
hasn't
stream.
rotated. Yeah, Southgate really hasn't rotated, but I'm probably going to change this at some point. But currently, put Anthony Gordon, Cole Palmer, kind of out of what I would rather see here in case Phil Foden's not starting. Though personally, I probably would drop Jude Bellingham to the bench.
Yep.
He's gone full 90s and hasn't looked great. So that's, I don't know. Southgate hasn't really rotated a ton. So outside of Conor Gallagher, Kobe Mainu, Trent Alexander-Arnold. All right. Thoughts on England, Slovakia here?
I have thoughts on England, and most of them are that Southgate is the only thing holding this team from being the number one team in the world.
They are minus 250 to win in regular time.
Yep.
So can't take that.
Yeah. I think that this match, like every England match, screams 1-1 or 0-0, not because of Slovakia being in any way competitive. I just think that this England team looked totally dysfunctional. The match against Slovenia, obviously the most recent match, they had less than 1 XG. I saw through the entire group stage, Kylian Mbappe on his own had more XG than the entire England team. This England team just are so poor with the ball, without the ball, and the talent is basically the only thing carrying them through. And I think that this is probably the biggest chance for an upset here. I think England will win, but if I were to pick one upset, like one of the top favorites getting upset, it would be Slovakia over England, because I think a well-drilled Slovakia team could actually give England a ton of problems.
Yeah, you look at a lot of these Slovakian players, and they're all pretty familiar. I mean, we look
Yeah.
at, I don't know, Georgia, Romania, and some of those guys, but pretty much all of these guys are familiar. They play in European leagues. They've been in Champions League, kind of a thing.
Yep.
Dubravka, Newcastle's number one keeper for the majority of this past season. So you look at all of that, and you look at Slovakia's results. Okay, they beat Belgium in that opener. They got that early goal, and then they held strong. So, I mean, that's something that could happen against England, if we're being honest.
Yep.
They're outplayed by Ukraine, and then again, similar to that Romania, they had the Romania game where, ended in a draw. Both teams were fine with the draw there. So, yeah, the odds have been crazy all tournament here in England matches. First off,
Yep.
you can get Slovakia plus 900 to win. That's pretty good value given how England have looked. Like those odds would be, I don't know, if we're talking Premier League in this past season, it'd be Luton Town winning at Manchester City or something like that. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think this matchup is going to be like that. England have been playing like a West Ham or something in the Premier League. Are you going to trust West Ham at minus 250 to win? No, you're
No,
not. So
never. The England thing that's been most concerning to me, and my biggest reason for figuring Slovakia, is they have not been putting teams away at all. They can get a goal, they can get an advantage, but when that for lack of a better term, killer mentality, like you were mentioning with France in the knockout stage at the World Cup, where they get their goal, then they pile on, they control the match. This England team, even when they get ahead, they don't dominate the match. I mean, Denmark, they got the early lead, and then Denmark just took over the match. I mean, Denmark had more possession, and that's not really acceptable with an England team that has ridiculous talent up and down the entire lineup.
yeah, they basically sat back after scoring that goal, and then Denmark got one right back shortly after. The final game, and the first game actually of the round of 16, Switzerland against Italy. I projected these odds. Someone asked me in the Discord about these odds. I think I got them pretty close, but I actually think Switzerland should be closer to a favorite in this one, based off how Italy have played and Italy's recent history and Italy's roster, if we're being honest here. But Switzerland are plus 240 to win. Italy are plus 145 to win. Actually, I pulled up. Sorry, I had the. So you could put together a single game parlay for England double chance in under 2.5 goals. That's actually minus 115 odds. That was one thing I liked. Sorry, I had that up. But getting back to Switzerland, Italy here. One I liked for this one was to advance Switzerland's plus 115. I actually think Switzerland are the better team. Midfield's pretty close. Chaka, Freuler, Jorginho, Barella, but I don't know. I almost like the Switzerland attacking pieces a little more. They've shown a little bit more in this tournament. The back lines are pretty close. Bastoni is always Bastoni. Calfori is going to be suspended, so we're projecting Buongiorno in there. But I don't think either one of these teams has a massive edge, but I feel like Switzerland's attack has just in general been better. What's your read on this one?
I completely agree with you. I was very surprised to see that Italy are favored here at all. I personally thought Switzerland were better. I thought they didn't look fluky that they were better. I mean, Italy have barely created anything. I watched the Italy versus Spain game, and Spain only scored through an own goal, but I don't think Italy had a single big chance throughout that entire game. I mean, this Italy team has looked so bad going forward, in my opinion. It's really Italy is obviously a huge name, but this team, and you said the players on it, the players in starting 11. This is not the Italy team of old. This isn't the
Of like
Italy team that
12
won the
years
last
ago.
Euros or even the
Right.
last Euros. Like, it's just not the same team at all.
Yeah. Yeah, looking at their results, they gave up the earliest goal ever, I think, at the Euros against Albania. Then got two immediately after, and I wouldn't say they controlled that match the rest of the way against Albania. Then they got dominated by Spain, and then they got that late equalizer against Croatia, a game where again they were pretty much the worst team until they had to actually press for the final 10 or 20 minutes of that one. So, yeah, I do think I think some of these odds they they throw the team in there, they throw Italy in there, and then they take, pre-tournament odds, and it's like, okay, Italy against Switzerland. Italy were projected to be the better team going in the tournament, so we're just going to make them a favorite here. And I think that's kind of what's going into it a little bit. Let's look at this bracket, though. So this one's a little more interesting to talk about. England, Slovakia winner against Switzerland, Italy winner. This is Switzerland to the semifinal. What are we thinking here?
I mean, I'll do full. My semifinal is Switzerland versus Austria. So,
Okay. Switzerland plus 450 to reach the semifinal.
This side of the bracket, I think, is obviously it's very weak. And even this half of the bracket, I think that you could end up with a very unlikely. I mean, if you're the biggest Slovakia truther, there's a world. This bracket feels much more open than the left hand side of the bracket to me, top to bottom, really.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying, the other one, it was like, okay, there's 4 underdogs. Can you even see the 4 underdogs doing it? And it was no. But I mean, you look at this one, and we have, if you upset one of these teams, if Romania gets an upset, or as you said, Slovakia, Switzerland, if these teams upset in their first matches, then okay, what's their next game? Romania is going to play Austria or Turkey. Okay, we've liked Austria, but still, this isn't like, okay, Romania against Spain in the next round kind of a thing.
Yeah.
If Slovakia upsets England, it's like, okay, you got Switzerland or Italy up next. So it's just like the possibilities are a little easier to think about. So let me look through some of these semifinal odds. England minus 155, which no one in the right mind should take England to the semifinal at minus 155. It's a waste of money. First
Never.
off, at minus 155.
I like Austria plus 220.
Okay, yeah, plus 220. Italy's plus 275. Switzerland plus 450. Romania plus 900. Turkey's plus 450 as well. I don't want to take Turkey in that situation. I went over to Netherlands. Netherlands are plus 110. So yeah, I don't know if it's a group think here, but I'd also like Austria plus 220 and Switzerland plus 450, just in terms of value right there. So I don't either agree with Netherlands plus 110 either. That one just seems like, consider they just lost to Austria. So like, why are we taking them at plus 110 odds, which is like even money for them to win 2 matches when they just lost to one of their possible opponents in the next round?
Yeah, the Netherlands and Italy both. I think there's totally a world where that ends up being a semifinal. I just don't think that they are priced a way that I'm interested in that for either of those teams, really.
Yeah, it's not good enough.
No.
It's the pre-tournament thoughts on these teams are kind of going into here, and it's kind of taking away value from the favorites in this spot is what I'd say. So yeah, we talked about England, Switzerland. What if it's England, Switzerland there?
It's
Is that kind of similar to, I don't want to say, compare the red and white teams with each other, but is that kind of similar to England-Denmark game a little bit? Kind of feels similar a little bit?
Yeah, it does. And the frustrating part with England is, and the reason that obviously on DraftKings right now, they're the overall tournament favorite, they're favorite to reach the final. This bracket is so soft that, and England is so talented that it's hard to dismiss England at any point because they should have too much for anybody in this half of the bracket. Like if it's England versus Switzerland there, Switzerland will be trying to nullify that game, or not nullify. They'll be playing extremely defensively throughout that game, and that's going to be the case for anyone.
Maybe
not. Maybe not.
No, I mean, teams have not been scared of England. Is the takeaway, I'd say.
That's true. I mean, and is there any reason to be scared of England, really?
Right.
At this point? Well, they've scored, twice in their last... Yeah, they've scored twice in their last 4 matches, including their final tune-up game.
They lost to Iceland, yeah.
Yep. Like, this England team is not... The names are threatening, but the actual team is not threatening, so... If it's England, Switzerland, I'd probably like Switzerland because they're going to be some crazy underdog there, and I'd like that for Switzerland.
Yeah, I think you just look at that. Just again, I don't want to just compare these teams because they're both red and white on the flag, but you got Xhaka and Freuler in the midfield, where you could look at the Denmark also pretty solid midfield, but I almost think that Switzerland midfield might be better than how England have been playing. Maybe not might be. I think they have been playing better. And then if you get a guy like Mbolo going off the counter, or or Ndoye's been great in this tournament as well. You just get guys like that going off the counter, and I think it's it's possible. Obviously, they got to get past Italy first. What about the other side here? Netherlands, Austria is both what our thoughts are in a rematch here between Netherlands and Austria. You think not Netherlands? I mean, I guess you already said you're taking Austria, but
Yep.
two matches, two head-to-head games in probably a matter of, I don't know, 10 or so days. Do you think that helps Netherlands who just lost, or is it Austria? Okay, we have the confidence. We know we can score on these guys. We know we can beat them already. So let's do it again, kind of a thing.
I think it helps Austria more than the Netherlands because Austria has been, I think, improving in every single match throughout the Euros. And I think that Austria, if they can get past Turkey, will have all that momentum. They seem to be building off that momentum. As you said, Sabitzer, Schmid have both been great. Arnautovic hasn't been perfect by any means, but I think he's done
He's a
well.
guy. He's a guy. He converted a PK, right?
Yep, yep. I think the biggest concern for Austria against Netherlands again would be defense, and it's the same thing you mentioned. This Austrian team likes to concede a goal, and that's always worrying in the knockout stage. That's
It's
always an
not
issue.
right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I guess
but
when looking at it, maybe that's not the team you want to actually bet on to get to the final because they struggle
there's
defensively.
vol-
That's not what you want.
yeah, I mean, maybe you go Switzerland. They have been, in my opinion, better defensively than Austria, and
Mm-hmm.
they have arguably an even softer half of the bracket. So,
Yeah, no love to England there.
no,
So
none at all.
final, as we wind down here, we're close to an hour here. This was longer than I thought we're gonna go, but a lot of stuff to talk about. To reach the final, again, you mentioned England plus 130. Sorry, this is to reach the final. I'm looking to win the final here. Sorry, we need to win the final. England are plus 350 to win. Spain plus 450. Germany plus 550. France plus 600. Those are the top four favorites. Portugal plus 700. If we want to go for one of those long shots we're talking about, Austria plus 1600. Switzerland plus 3500. That's kind of what we're looking at here. So, who's your final here? What'd you say? Switzerland, Austria? So, you going Austria against Germany in the final?
Yep, Austria,
Okay.
Germany.
Is this like a 4-3 result in the final?
Yeah, something like that. Germany winning in some crazy high scoring game. That's my
I,
pick at the moment.
I think that'd be a great game actually if we got that.
I think it'd be a
I
lot of
wouldn't
fun.
complain. Yeah. Yeah, we got Netherlands. I guess what the goal is, we just don't want to get England in the final, unless they change how they play. I guess.
They can what was the team that won AFCON most recently? They fired their manager between the group stage and the round of 16. If England do that, I will take back everything I just said and I'll have England in the final. But
I thought they should. I mean, after their second group game, I think they should have fired Southgate.
yeah, that's fair.
Maybe he's just gonna stay on. People have been calling for his head for a while. I think that they're playing as worse as they've maybe ever played under Southgate. It's hasn't looked pretty, but they've advanced. They won their group, so that's in there. My prediction: I'm sticking with Spain, and I'm just gonna pick on the spot here. Man, I can't even pick any of these teams. If I'm being honest, it's a little difficult on this other side of the bracket. I don't want to pick the same as you with Austria. I don't really think Switzerland are that great either. I don't want to pick England. I don't really want to pick Netherlands. I'll go. Let's go Netherlands. Let's do Netherlands.
All right.
Netherlands, Spain in the final. A little different matchup. I think also can be a fun matchup as well. If you have Spain getting possession and then you got Gakpo and Malen going on the counter kind of thing, I think that would be pretty fun. Not sure I entirely believe in Netherlands, but I honestly don't want to pick any of these 8 teams to reach the final. So.
The bracket became really, really, really weird. Honestly, it's the format with the 4 best third place teams, but the whole right side of the bracket is just. I mean, there's a path where somebody crazy makes the final and gets blown out. I hope we avoid that. But like if Spain takes on Turkey in the final, I think that Spain could put 5 past them.
Let's hope not.
Unless you're a Spain fan.
I think if I had to make a bet here and to reach the final from that side, it might be Switzerland. Might do Switzerland plus 1,200 to reach the final on that side. I think I'm maybe like them total overall as a team a little more than Austria. We're getting a couple comments here. Boris is saying England versus Germany or Spain. Maybe we might be getting some UK listeners here. Champ Grind is saying England is winning it all. It's coming home. I don't know if everyone is. Maybe they turn it around. I guess that's what at the end of the day, maybe England turns it around. But honestly, if you've played like this for 4 straight games, why should we expect them to turn around? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, it's what have they shown? They haven't improved. I mean, they came into the tournament as the pre-tournament favorites. They have all of this crazy talent. They have the Liga Player of the Year, Premier League Player of the Year, Bundesliga Golden Boot winner, and they've done nothing with that. I mean,
yeah,
they've had a scoreless draw with Slovenia. That's cool. It's just so disappointing from this team so far. Especially
Champ
Bellingham.
Grind changes thoughts. Best bet is England to lose.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then Cal is saying at the moment it is not coming home.
I agree with that as well.
Before we go, let's give the odds here for what our thoughts are. You said Austria against Germany. That is plus 3,000 if you want to bet that. I said Spain is Switzerland. That is also plus 3,000. So we got a couple plus 3,000 bets there if anyone believes in what we've just talked about for the last 60 minutes. Boris still believes in England. He's not an English supporter, but he believes in them. All right, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, they got a favorable draw. So at the end of the day, maybe they just win 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, and they make it, which is, it's possible. It's possible given the opponents.
And then Southgate stays in a job for at least 2 more years.
Yeah, he'll be managing 2026 World Cup over here. That's just exactly what everyone wants. But Ian, you got anything else? Did you have anything else you want to chat on? We talked about a lot here.
No, I think we covered pretty much everything unless you wanted to talk about Golden Boot winners.
No, I think we're good. We're 60 minutes in.
Cool.
Unless you want to talk Golden Boot.
No, I'm good.
So Ian guarantees plus 3,000 hit on Germany, Austria in the final. Spain and Switzerland for me. I can't believe I'm hanging my hat here on Switzerland to reach the final, but that's where we've come. I've sold myself. You sold me on Switzerland to reach the final. That's where we're at. But you can follow RotoWire Soccer at RotoWire Soccer on Twitter. I am at Zdroik. Ian, you're at Ian Faletti.
Yep.
Is that okay? Correct. You can follow us on Twitter. Also, again, I was using our cheat sheets earlier in the show. RotoWire.com/soccer trial. It's a 48-hour trial, but again, this tournament is a couple more weeks. So if you're playing DFS or if you're even betting, you want to check out all the projected lineups, all the content available on these cheat sheets. RotoWire.com/soccer trial. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this. Thank you for the comments. Champ Grind agrees with the Switzerland pick, so shout out to Champ Grind for agreeing with me. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Good luck on maybe not good luck. Good luck on your bets. Enjoy the rest of the tournament. Hopefully we get some fun matches. And thank you, Ian, for joining me on this show. As usual, we got the DFS content coming up from Ryan and Jack later in the week.